No, I think what it's key to say is the GMB and myself, we do support the vaccination. However, what we don't support is removing that choice from individuals, and that's what we're doing. I take it from the first panelist where she said it's not a choice, and you have a choice. You don't have a choice. You don't have that vaccination by the first vaccination by the 3rd of February, then your notice will be given to work for the NHS. And I'd like to touch on what the nurse said. She's absolutely fundamentally right. As a working paramedic, and I take that lady as a working nurse, and we are on the front line, if we see this vaccination go through, we're not going to have any staff. We're already significantly under-resourced for the demand that we're seeing. And I can concur with what she's saying. I've got paramedics, technicians, and other healthcare providers that are working around me that are absolutely fatigued, they're upset, they're crying because the demand is so precious. And then on top of that, we're going to lose over 100,000 NHS staff. It's outrageous. I cannot believe that
Paul,
we're allowing this to continue.
Maybe the counter-argument to that is you would have less staff off with COVID if more of them had been vaccinated. I'm just going to bring Carole in there because you looked like you wanted to get involved. Carole, that was the first panellist you referred to earlier, Paul.
Yeah, everything Steph talked about earlier, I have huge sympathy for. She talked about 40,000 vacancies. She talked about nurses and TAs. That's not because they have to get the jab. That's because of pay and conditions within the NHS. They're worn out, and they'll be less worn out if they have the chance to get the jab. And I would ask Paul, why wouldn't you get the jab if you're working with vulnerable people? What on earth is your argument? If you're going to tell me it's a principle, well, frankly, stuff your principle when people's lives are at stake. There's no principle involved here. It's about saving lives and looking after the most vulnerable in society.
Paul?
Yeah, I think the issue you've got there is some of our staff, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer, by the way, are actually genuinely scared to have that vaccination. For whatever reason they have, it could be career-ending. They have the vaccination, it could be career-ending because there is side effects to the vaccinations, which the government pay out £120,000 if you do suffer those. But if you lose your job because, I don't know, you have a stroke or something like that, which is a side effect, that's the worry my members have got. And we have to listen to what those people are saying.
It's okay for millions of people to get the jab to protect ourselves and other people. But your people in your union should be exempted from that because they're scared. We're all scared. None of us know what the repercussions are going to be. But we did it anyway to protect people and to get this nation moving again.
Paul?
No, I disagree with you there because you had a choice whether you had that vaccination. These staff don't have a choice. They either have the vaccination and stay in the NHS, or they don't have the vaccination and they get dismissed from their role as a clinician. I think it's very difficult, and you've got to look at both sides of the argument. I appreciate that people expect NHS clinicians to have the vaccinations, and as I've said, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, and I am doubly vaccinated myself, but we have other individuals out there that are absolutely terrified for having the vaccination. And we should be looking at educating, understanding why these individuals don't want the vaccination. And they go from paramedics, technicians, right the way up to consultants as well, that are absolutely not wanting the vaccination. And we have to listen to why medical professionals are saying no. It's not just a straightforward argument of saying, well, you serve the public, you must be vaccinated.
Paul,
I am pro, let's vaccinate the whole country. But then we remove the choice from individuals, and that's not the right way to do things. We should be giving people choice, because otherwise, what is the government going to introduce next time? And we've got no choice now because the president's already been set. So we've got to be really careful that we're not removing human rights.
I think our panel would say that they do have a choice. They have a choice whether to get the jabs or not, and the consequences of that is whether to keep their job or lose it. So I hear what you're saying. I don't want you to feel like this is a pile-on, but I can see Shola being really animated as well and wanting to get involved and ask you a question. So let me just go to Shola. Shola, what do you want to ask Paul?
First of all, I would say, look, Paul, thank you for your very considered responses, and I hear you. But I do want to address the fact that it sounds like you're rewriting the narrative here, where you say that they were not given choices. That's not true. Every single one of us was given a choice. In fact, now NHS practitioners are being given a choice as to whether to be vaccinated or not. That's where the choice lies. But like I pointed out, the healthcare industry is not the only industry where health requirements are necessary. Even in schools, in the education industry, children are required to have certain vaccinations, certain immunizations before they start school. This is 2 years into the pandemic. So right now, I'm at a point that if we want to talk about supporting the NHS, if we want to talk about real issues of liberty and dealing with public health, then I'm sorry, I do expect healthcare professionals to be vaccinated, because I cannot imagine for the life of me a doctor, a nurse, a technician who has a patient, vulnerable or not, and they can't even give them accurate advice on the vaccination. They say, actually, I didn't get vaccinated, so it's okay. I just think it's wrong messaging.
Okay, I think we've animated our panel anyway for Jeremy Vine Extra.